Hello, good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for joining with us. You are here with Dilmah Conservation's Friendly Beekeeper webinar series. Today, our second webinar. So you already know the curator of our webinar series, Dr. Anura Indrajit Sirisena. So we are pleased to have him today as well as the resource person for the session today. So in our first webinar, it was Know Your Bees, and we were able to tell you stories about bees and also share some important facts about bees. We also discuss about ecosystem services that we get from bees and also why it is important to protect bees. Today's session is about how to start beekeeping. So today we are planning to discuss about basic requirements, tools, and equipment. We believe this is the heart of our webinar series because it is important for us to have bees and also a bee box to start beekeeping. And because of the richness of this title session, we divided this section into two segments. First part today will be focusing on basic requirements and also tools. And in our next webinar in July, we will be focusing on the tools and equipment in detail. So before we start this session today, I would like to mention about the e-certificate because we received a couple of questions related to e-certificate. You will receive an e-certificate towards the end of this session. So if you didn't watch our previous webinar, please do not worry about it. We will be counting your attendance from today's session onwards. After this session, tomorrow you will receive a feedback form. You just have to complete the feedback form, and that will we will count as your attendance for the webinar series, and you will be eligible to get the final certificate. If you missed the first webinar and you would like to watch this webinar, you can go to Facebook page, Dilmah Conservation Facebook page, and find the recorded video and watch it. Today's session will also be recorded and available on Dilmah Conservation Facebook page. Only for today's session, if you are using Facebook, if you would like to get our e-certificate, please send us a direct message through Facebook and we will give you the feedback form link only for today's session. And later on, we would like to request you to register through Zoom. So then it will be easy for us to issue the e-certificate to all Zoom users. And to have the interactive session, we would like to request you to answer all our poll questions. So this will be helpful for us to have an interactive session. And without further delay, I would like to welcome Dr. Anura Indrajit Sirisena to share his valuable thoughts and knowledge with us on this topic.
Okay, thank you, Dakshini. So I think many of you have joined the last webinar as well. As Dakshini explained. We discussed some basic things related to beekeeping and what are the different products that we can get out of bees and what are their ecological and economical importances likewise. So today we will going to discuss what are the basic requirements, right? So how we can start beekeeping, what are the necessary tools in beekeeping that we have to have. Now, if we discuss simply, who can start beekeeping, right? Now, actually, if you have a kind of home garden, maybe small piece of land surrounding your home, then yes, you can start beekeeping, right? And but still, I would like to say, even you are in a kind of city, right, or in a center of a town or something like that, still you can do some beekeeping because bees are not limited to your territory because you can keep bees with you, then they will go around and find some food for they want, right? So they can go to your neighbor's house and they can bring some pollen. So therefore you need not to worry if you have a large acreage, right? But even a small land owner can start beekeeping easily, right? And in case of the time that required for you to engage in beekeeping, actually we can say more or less for the time that you spend for with the crops. If you cultivate some crops, you have to water them, irrigate them. I mean, you have to add some fertilizer likewise. Now, actually, planting of trees are easy, right, in compared to beekeeping, because now when you plant a tree, then you have to apply water time to time, then it will grow automatically, right? Now, in case of bees, they are kind of living animals, right? Now, although they are insects, so we have to look what are they doing inside the hive. Therefore, time to time, you have to spend, I mean, we have to investigate, or we have to observe, all right, the conditions, or the whether the colony is growing or not. Now, for that, you have to spend some time, maybe 1 or 2 hours per week, right? Like, now, if you have some dogs or cats as pets at your home, right, you have to spend with them, you have to talk with them, right? So likewise, you have to check what bees required. I mean, what are the problems that they have. Likewise, therefore, some time you have to spend with the bee. Therefore, you have to find some time to deal with bees. Then, okay, where beekeeping is possible, yeah, in home gardens definitely we can do beekeeping. And if your I mean, your home garden is close to a forest patch, right? Maybe a huge forest or small forest patch, then it will be a kind of added advantage, because then bees can go and forage in the forest as well. Now, when it's come to plantation, right? So nowadays there is a tendency for the tea planters, right? So you can do beekeeping with tea I mean, inside the tea plantation also, because tea itself is a good foraging plant. And also we observed that some of our students were doing some research in tea lands. There are lots of weeds in tea lands, right? So these weeds are good foraging plants for the bees, right? And in case of rubber, and okay, now again, in the case of tea fields, there are some shade plants, right? So the shade trees also serve as a kind of bee plants, so it's a good area for the beekeeping. And in case of rubber, definitely under rubber cultivation, you can do some beekeeping, because there are some small flowers in rubber, right? So there are lots of nectar in it. So bees are allowed to get nectar from the rubber plantations, right? Now, only problem is, now sometimes the rubber plants shed their leaves during the wintering, right? So in that case, you have to move your colonies to some other places, or you have to do some supplementary feeding for your colony. In case of coconut, under coconut, definitely you can do beekeeping, because coconut is a very, very good source of pollen. Now, they produce flowers year round. Therefore, year round pollen source is also available. So it is encouraged for you to do some beekeeping under coconut plantation, because by doing so, you can increase the production of the coconut also, right? The quality also will, I mean, the size of the fruits will also will increase if you have some bees in your coconut um, cultivation. And literally anywhere, if you have some flowering plants, you can do beekeeping, right? No matter with the flowers are in your field, if your neighbors is growing some flowers, you can do beekeeping in your um, home garden. Right now, but if you have some undesirable thing like applying pesticides and some frequent fire, likewise, right? So then such places are not good for the beekeeping. Anyway, if you have some considerable amount of flowers surrounding area, yes, you can do some beekeeping in your field. Now, what is really beekeeping? Now, bees are naturally occur in different places, like wooden logs, or maybe a clay pot, or somewhere like that, right? Now, what are we going to do in beekeeping? We are going to give a new house for them, right? Or this new house, we used to say the hive, right? So beehive. Now, by keeping the bees in this new house or the beehive, we try to control them, right? Now, taking under our control, right, of these bees, we normally say beekeeping, right? Why actually we are doing that? Now, there may be several objectives for that. So if you want to extract some honey, right, venom, pollen, or royal jelly, or propolis, right, you can keep bees in your field, right? Or as I told you earlier, now, if you have some cultivated crops, maybe coconut or vegetables, right? Even pumpkins, like things, then to increase the pollination, you can keep bee colonies in your field. Actually, our traditional farmers are well aware about that. For example, recently I visited some areas in not chia, right? Now, those people now, when flowers are there in their pumpkin plants, right? In China cultivation, I'm talking about, they don't harvest or any, they don't disturb their honey bees at all, right? During the flowering season, because they know bees should be there for the pollination, right? Actually, by doing so, now sometimes you may have seen some pumpkin that have different shapes or not properly grown fruits, right? That is because of the poor pollination. Therefore, if you want to have a good product, right, good fruits, then you have to have some bees in your field. So then for that purpose, you can do beekeeping. And on the other hand, the most of the time I have seen that people are selling colonies, right? So nowadays people are searching where the colonies are available, right, to purchase, right? Now, normally you can buy a colony for about 6,000 with the box, right? Now, anyway, it's a good industry. I mean, if you are willing to do some self-employment, right, you can start multiplying colonies and sell these colonies for the required people. Now, it's a good business. I have some friends that they are doing this kind of thing. Okay, then shall we move to the uh, next slide? Then, okay,
Dr. Anura, we have our
yeah,
first poll question here. So while we talk about man-made beehives, we also want to ask the audience whether they know about naturally built beehives, like where do bees naturally build their hives. So we are launching our first poll question, and if you would like to click on the answer that whatever you think is correct, please click on the answer and submit. So, Dr. Anura, we have the results. So, 1%
right.
of our participants, they are mentioning clay pots as a natural place for bees to have their build their beehives, and then the 40% of them mentioned it's wood logs, and 4% mentioned it's termite mounds, and then we have 55% mentioning all of the above. So I think we will be able to get the correct answer from your next slide.
Yes, yeah, I'm glad to see many of you are aware about the natural nesting side. Actually, the correct answer is all of above, right? Now, I mean, they love to make their nest in some concealed or dark places, right? Such as wooden logs, as you can see here, and termite mounds, right? So bees are very much interested to be there because it's very cool inside, right? And clay pots, naturally, they like to colonize inside these clay pots, right? And even some wooden log and some barrel-like things, right? So the major characteristics of these places, I like to congratulate the people who have answers for all of above, right? So that is the correct answer. Anyway, now, yeah, why they are always seeking for a place like that, right? So they need some a kind of dark condition, like some concealed environment. The reason is they can communicate, right, in this dark condition. Now, as I told you last week during the last seminar also, but if you compare the honeybees with the dosata or the bambara bee and Apis florea, right, the annual bee, now they need sunlight for the communication, but here they don't need any sunlight. They can communicate in this dark condition. Therefore, they always go for this type of places. So you can see how they build the combs inside this nest, right? Now, if you want to invite some bees to be in your field, you can keep some clay pots here and there. So then they will come and nest inside the clay pots. So shall we, Dakshini, shall we move to the next slide? Yes, here you can see, yeah, here Okay, so right. So here you can see how actually natural colonies are building up in a kind of tree, hollow tree, right? So this is a cross section of that sort of tree. So you can see they are making some several parallel combs, right? So in between these combs, you can see some spaces are there, right? So these spaces are actually unique for the bees, right? So this space should be there, and normally they keep the honey in the top and the brood in the at the bottom, right? So you can see some queen cells also in these two combs. Now what are we going to do? We are going to give a new house for them, which is produced by human being, right? So we are going to give a new house, but the thing is we should prepare this house to mimic this natural condition, right? So we should not disturb this angle and all, right? So what are we going to do? We will shift this colony or these combs to a new place by keeping the same direction, right? So then the bees will be comfortable there, right? So they don't feel they now they are in different places and so on. Now you can see inside the hive, you can see, so still they are maintaining these gaps in between, right? So they are happy because they have more or less similar condition like in the natural side, right? So if otherwise if you make a huge I mean differences, right? So then they will feel uncomfortable and they will leave your hive. Okay, then yeah. Okay, here now if you are interested to do some beekeeping, you there should be some ways to find some bees, right? From where we can get honeybees, right? Now one such thing is you can capture a swarming colony. Now here you can see a swarming colony. These swarming colonies, now actually the natural colonies, time to time they reproduce, right? They produce new queens, and with the new queens a set of bees will leave the original colony. So this leaving colony we normally call as a swarming colony, right? This swarming colony will come and stay in a branch or somewhere. Now this is not a concealed or dark place, right? So temporarily they will stay in a place like that. Sometimes you may have seen, right? So this is what we call a swarming colony. Now you can take this swarming colony and put it in your hive, right? Yeah, Dakshini, I think I can you share the okay. Now when you have this sort of colony, right? So all what you have to do, you can use a kind of cardboard file, right? I hope you can see this, right? Now you can make a cardboard, you can fold the cardboard file to make kind of what you call cone shape thing, right? And then by using this cone shape item, you can slowly grab this colony, right? From the bottom to top, you can move very slowly so that all the bees will go into this one, and then you can suddenly shape into your hive, and you can close the crown board, right? Then you are done. Now you have to be very careful when you are doing this, right? It's better if you wear a kind of a veil, right? Sometimes they can be aggressive. Anyway, this swarming colony is very easy to capture like this, right? And the other thing is what you can, as I told you earlier, you can keep some traps, right? The good traps is actually this clay pots. Now if it is in the dry zone or this Anuradhapura, Polonnaruwa, like Dambula, like area, you can keep some clay pots in your home garden, right? Then this sort of swarming colonies will come and settle inside these clay pots, right? Or otherwise, if you are in a very cool areas like in Anwar area or even in candy areas, right? So in hilly areas, you can use some empty wooden box for that purpose, not the clay pots, right? Now, if you keep some empty clay pot, even some bee boxes, right? You can keep, they will come and settle there, right? You can have a try if you have. But in drier part of the country, you can keep some clay pots. Then leisurely you can take this into your hive. We can explain how to transfer colony from clay pots to your wooden box later. And The other method is you can capture a wild colony. Maybe your friends will find colonies for you. They may be in termite mold or wooden logs, or maybe in under rock or somewhere. Then you can go and capture that colony. Again, we will explain how to do it stepwise in time to come. And then if you don't find any of these way, what you can do is you can purchase a colony from a beekeeper, right? That is the easiest way. But I think if you are capture a colony, a swarming colony, right? It may be very interesting, and it will be a good learning curve to you. Okay, then Dakshini, shall we move to the next slide? Yes. Now I told you we are going to talk about some essential equipments that we are using in beekeeping. So here you can see a beehive, the bee box in simple. I mean, generally we talk bee box as bee box, beehive. Then the smoker, very important thing and very essential thing, right? Because we need some smokes to apply before you handle any bees in order to settle them. Otherwise, they will be aggressive and they can attack you, right? For the safety of the bees and for the safety of you, right? You have to use some smoke. So I always suggest you to buy a one. But I have seen some people use some substitute like coconut husk or something like. Sometimes people use some cigarette smoke also to before they handle bees, but it is not recommended, right? Please purchase this sort of smoker. Those are available in the local market, right? And then a bee veil for your protection, and the honey extract. If you have many colonies, you need to have a honey extractor like this. And if you want to extract wax out of your colonies, you have to use this sort of simple device called wax extractor. Anyway, we will talk these things later in detail. So we will start from beehive. Yeah, when it comes to beehive, we can see two types of beehives in Sri Lanka. Actually, major problems of these beehives, right? In the world was they were not possible to harvest the colony, the honey, without disturbing the colony, right? Actually, in 1810, right? Langstroth, he was a pastor in a kind of church, right, in other country. Now he invented this movable comb, the beehive with the movable comb, right? Now you can see inside this hive there are several frames, right? These frames you can move here and there. Therefore, easily you can observe each and every combs. You can take it out them and you can observe. Now, some people ask, okay, now if bees are interested to live in clay pots, why don't we keep they are in the clay pots rather than keeping taking it into a hive, right? So my answer is, now when they are in a clay pot, right, we cannot observe what is going on inside the colony, right? Whether they are whether queen is laying eggs, or whether they are honey that we can harvest, or any pest that we cannot see. And also, when you are harvesting honey in a colony that are in a clay pots, right? So after harvesting, most of the time the colony will leave, right? But here, if you transfer this colony to a hive like that, so time to time you can check what is going on, and you can replace some combs. Sometimes you will see some pest infested comb, then you have to remove it, right? And sometimes you have to take some combs with eggs and to introduce to another colony, then you can easily move, right? So likewise, it is very good to have a beehive, and I always recommend for you to start with the hive, right? Not to keep the colonies in pots forever, right? Now in Sri Lanka, you can see this type of one with 8 frames, what we call Dr. Puncheva's box. He's the one who invented that one. And this is the hive with 6 frame, invented by Dr. Baptist from University of Peradeniya, very 1950s, right? Anyway, both types are now used for the dry zone. This long one, the Baptist box, is actually somewhat good. But for the rest of the areas, yeah, you can use this one, right? But still, you can use any type anywhere in the country. So shall we see what are the yeah. Now, when we make these hives, we have to select some special timber species, right? The timber species should be a bee loving one. You know, some timbers give some awful odor, right? Then bees not like to stay in such hives, right? So, and it should be available, right? So rare species of wood we cannot use for that one. So timber species like Genisapu, Velang, Burutta, Pinus, right? So Atumber, Colon, like plants you can use for making the hives, and it should be not expensive, right? Because if it is expensive, the farmers cannot affordable the hives, the final product. Okay, Dakshini, shall we move? Yeah. So when we keep in this uh, frames, right? So we have to be very careful now, because you can see in between two combs, right? In between two combs, there is a specific gap. Now this gaps we used to say the bee space, right? Now this bee space is very important for our species Apis cerana or the honeybee. It is 8 millimeter, right? 8 millimeter. So this 8 millimeter should be there, because then only two bees can work back to back without any hindrance, right? Without any obstacles, they can work back to back if you if you keep 8 millimeter in between. Maybe in the top you can see it may be a 4 millimeter, but most of the time it should be 8 millimeter. Now this space should be there. Now if the combs are closer than that, what bees will do, they will fill this gap with the wax. So then you cannot take one comb out. So rather than that, a set of combs will come out when you want to check, right? So it's a problem. And if you exceed this gap again, the bees will make some birth combs, right? So that's mean they make some combs in as a by making a connection between two adjacent combs, right? The cross combs will be there, the birth combs, right? So always we have to keep the correct distance is in between two frames. Actually, the beehive normally design accordingly, right? Now, if you keep the frames touching each other, we can easily provide that the space, because this comb we can consider as a brood. In poultry farming also we use brooders, right, to keep some to rear some eggs. Now similarly you can see some bee eggs here, right? Now always they have to maintain the temperature inside. Now for that they have to cover this comb always. That's why you will see a large number of bees always covering the comb. You can literally cannot see the comb, right? Because they always cover the comb. Why? To give some to maintain the temperature inside the comb. Normally it is 34 to 35, right? So it is the ideal temperature for them to have for the rearing of these eggs and all, right? So the beehive is normally designed to give to provide these all requirements. Right now, if you try to identify the different parts of the hive, the on the top you will see the roof. So it will protect the colony from the sun and rain, right? Normally a tar sheet will use to cover the topmost the surface, right? So it's a durable and should be weatherproof, right? The right then bottom you can see just below the roof you will see the crown board, right? It's a small flat piece of board, right, with some ventilation hole you can see, so bees can get some air out of it, right? So air circulation is possible. And this crown board was actually we can use as a regulator to regulate the volume of the hive, right? Now the next one is a honey super. You can take it out and you can keep the crown board on top of the brood box when you need. Or if the colony is very large, you can keep the honey super on the top, then you can keep the crown board. And if you still need some space, you can keep another honey super on top of that, then you can keep the crown board. Likewise you can regulate the volume, the space vertically by using this crown board. It is very important piece of board. Now the honey super is the place where they deposit honey or store honey, right? Now we can take honey from this honey super. Normally they don't lay eggs. The queen doesn't lay eggs on that honey super. Now if you are in the Bandaravilla or Bindunavava like areas, right? So you can have several honey supers, right? One on the other, likewise maybe up to 5 to 6 honey supers you can have in that areas. Now just below you can see the brood box. very important part of the hive. Normally the queen lay eggs there, all the eggs are there, larvae are there, pollens also normally store in the brood box, right? Now if you compare the size, the brood box is twice of a honey super, right? Now it is double the size, like honey super in case of brood box, right? And similar number of frames you can see even in the brood box and the honey super. Then at the bottom you can see the bottom board. Bottom board is actually the foundation of the hive, right? All the rest of the components are keep on the bottom board, right? And it should be very strong, right? And normally the debris like wax pieces and all other foreign matters will accumulate on the bottom board. Time to time you have to clean the bottom board, otherwise the wax moth and other predators or some beetle species will grow on that one, right? So it is very important to keep clean, right? Then the queen guard, so we can discuss about the queen guard in next slide. Now queen guard is something that that is important to have in a hive. So this queen guard, actually you can see some holes in it, right? It's a piece of metal strip with holes, allows only the work, okay. So you can see the width 4 millimeter only, right? Right. By using by through this metal strip, only the workers can normally move. Right. It's not the drones or the queen can go through the gate. Now we normally keep the gate to keep the queen inside the hive always. But don't think we have to keep the gate always, right? Now when a colony is established, right, then you have to remove the gate, right? Because if you keep the gate always, it will be a kind of trouble for the workers, right? Workers, there should be some free passage to come and to go inside and outside, right? So otherwise, if you keep the gate always, it will be a trouble. But when you capture a new colony and establish a new colony, yeah, maybe for 1 or 2 weeks, it is better to have the gates on board, because we have to protect the colony, right? Otherwise, queen, if the conditions of the hive is not good, queen may decide to go, then they will leave, right? So to prevent that, you have to use the gate at the beginning. Right. So these are actually different types of beehives that we can see in the country, right? You can made it out of okay, thal liratu and pol liratu, like and coconut leaf, even some, what is that, kitul tree, right? And by using some pole timber, right? Now you can use different materials if you like to use, right? Now this is the conventional one, the modern one. Anyway, if you use some materials, it may good, but the inside should be similar to this modern movable beehive, because you should be able to keep some frames, right? Now outside you can have different things actually based on your requirement, right? And now if you see the different types of frames inside the hive, right? As I told you earlier, in the honey super, you can see honey frames, right? It is almost half of the brood frames. You can see bees are normally keep honey there. They don't lay eggs here. So for the harvesting, you can use these honey frames if you have large number of colonies, you can use a honey extractor. So we can talk about how to extract honey in the future. In case of brood frames, so you can see here eggs should be there, and larvae and pupal cases, right? And they normally store pollen in this area, right? And top of that, they will store nectar, sorry, the honey also, right? And to mimic that, we keep honey frame on the top of the brood box. So therefore generally they will go and store honey in the honey frame. And what is this? So this is dummy board, right? Now I told you the crown board we can use to regulate the volume vertically. Now similarly you can regulate the volume, right? Now you can see, as you can see here in this image, you can use a dummy board to regulate the space horizontally, right? Now when it comes to a new colony, for example, if you capture a swarming colony, only a small number of bees will be there. Now, what will happen if you keep a large room, and if you have to, if you ask to stay there for about 1 or 2 nights there, right? So you will feel uncomfortable, right? During the night, it will be very cold, right? Now, similarly, if the small number of bees keep in a large hive, then it is very difficult for them to regulate temperature, to maintain the temperature. Therefore, we have to limit the volume, right? So what we can do, we can keep only 1 or 2 or 3 frames like that. Then you can keep this dummy board. By keeping this dummy board here, what you can do, we can simulate a very small hive, right? Then small room for small number of bees. So as colony is growing, so you can move this dummy board the other way around. Then you can introduce more frames to the hive, right? I think you got that. Okay. So this is how actually we have to maintain the hives. So we talked today about this beehive. So other than these beehives, we need some other tools. For example, bee smokers, right? It's very essential thing to have a bee with a beekeeper. Then bee wares, extractors, honey extractors, and wax extractors. Then bee brushes and feeders, right? So like things, and some sugar syrup feeder, right? Now we will talk about these tools in future webinars, right? Maybe next webinar we can talk about rest of the things. So most important thing is the beehive, right? So today we talk how this beehive was developed and what are the components of this beehive and how we have to maintain that one, right? And in future webinar, right, next one we will talk about the other devices also, because this background knowledge is very important. So if you want to start beekeeping in the future, so beekeeping is one of the most enjoyable and interesting endeavors so you will ever encounter. Do your best, keep learning, keep going, and have fun. Now, if you have any questions, I think it is the time, Dakshini.
Yes, Dr. Anura, we have a couple of questions, and then if you have questions, you can also direct questions using Q&A tab. If you are using Facebook, please write your question as a comment so that Dilmah Conservation team will get all these questions to Dr. Anura. So Dr. Anura, our first question is, what is the distance that we could keep between two colonies? So this was asked by Tushita Pereira.
Oh yes, yeah. Most of the people think that we cannot keep colonies very close, right? Naturally, the foraging distance of bees is around 300 meters, right? Now that means the members of one colony may visit 300 meters away from their colony for the foraging. Now, therefore, if you don't have enough flowers in your home garden, it is better if you can keep colonies somewhat sparse. I mean, maybe 5 meter, 10 meter, likewise, right? It depends on the foraging resources actually. Now, if you have some good cultivated crops surrounding or some flowering plants, I think you can have several colonies in the same place without problem. Maybe only 5 to 6 feet in between is enough, but provided that there should be some in foraging resources, right? Now if you have only 1 or 2 plants and only few plants, right, available, then you should not keep lots of colony. Then there will be a competition and there may be not enough food for them to survive, right? So if you are interesting to establish a kind of apiary, right, then you have to plan what are the species should be in your home garden. Actually, there is a separate webinar in our series. So which one is that? Right. Okay, the fifth one, right? So yeah, you can see here, designing the bee garden. So there we will talk how we can design our home garden or our apiary, and what are the different plant species we can establish in our apiary in order to have more number of colonies in the same place. Actually, there are some other in other countries, and even in Sri Lanka, I have seen there is a concept called migratory beekeeping also. Now, in that case, I told you earlier, we can keep honeybee colonies in rubber plantation when the flowers are there. Then when the wintering or when the rubber plants are shedding their leaves, you can keep you can move this colony from there to another place where flowers are available, maybe another even coconut field, right? So likewise, you can have any number of colonies, right? But all you have to think, the surrounding should have to have enough ample number of flowering plants at the time, any time. I think, yeah.
Yeah. So Dr. Anurag, Rahuman is asking, shall we do beekeeping in urban areas, especially in upper terrace?
Especially in
Upper terrace.
yeah, still you can do. Now I told you, normally not like the other animals, right? Now bees are normally go out side from your the home garden or whatever, right, for the foraging, right? Now sometimes you may be live in a flat, right? But still, if you have some small space to keep a bee colony, you just keep, right? Because they're not limited to your arena, I mean your flat, right? So they will go and find some food. I mean, if there are some flowering plants surrounding in your uh, flat or whatever you wherever you stay, still you can have some bee colonies. But I have seen even very big buildings, right? So not very much. I mean, it should be around 3 or 4 stairs. I mean, not a very big building, right? Yeah, still you can have bees in an urban area without a problem. Because in Sri Lanka, right, any cities there are lots of plants, right? So you can keep colonies.
And then Dr. Anurag, Bihansit is asking, is beekeeping possible with wild and free colonies? And instead of raising our own colony, can we support and protect a wild colony?
Can you ask again?
So Vihansit is asking, is beekeeping possible with wild and free colonies? And instead of raising our own colony, can we support and protect a wild colony?
Yes, it's a very good question. Now if you are interested on conserving the natural colony in natural sites, yes, still you can do that, right? Now then you should not harvest that colony. I mean, some friend of me actually doing that. Now they are keeping some wooden logs in your home garden and they never ever harvest, right? Now what they want is actually they want to multiply the colony or conserve the existing colony, right? If you have some colonies in a kind of cave or a wooden log in your home garden, you can keep untouched, right? You don't do anything, then they will look after on their own, right? So during the honey season, they will multiply, they will make new queens, and the number of colony will increase, right? And it is not necessarily you to keep in hive. Now if you want to harvest some honey and all, only you want to transfer this colony into your uh, man-made hive, right? But doing so, we are not doing any harm for them actually, right? So we can use the wild colony. I mean, we can transfer wild colony into the beehive, and we can give all the necessary requirements, right? And we are not doing any disturbance actually there, right? Now, for example, if you think about some our weather people or some other people very close to forest areas, what are they doing actually? They visit the forest and they harvest honey, right? Now during that process, lots of distractions are going on. They flame the colonies and all, right? Now if we can train these people, right, to have these colonies in a hive like this, they don't want to burn any colonies, or they don't want to destroy any colonies, then they can harvest the honey, then still the colony is also there, right? But it's I am very interested. I mean, it's glad to see some of you have that attitude, right, to protect the wild colonies. Yes, we can do something. It's not necessary to have this Langstock box to purchase, right? You can keep the colony as it is in the original site without doing anything, but don't try to harvest honey out of that sort of colonies. Then they will reproduce on their own and they will multiply.
Dr. Anur, I'm not sure whether we will be able to answer this question, but a couple of people, they want to know. They are asking where they could purchase a bee box for them to start beekeeping, and is it possible to purchase bee colonies and also a queen bee?
Yes, bee boxes are actually producing different people in the country. Actually, we have contacts of some people, Dakshini, so we can share this information in time to come, Neil. So we can,
Yes, Dr. Anurag. So,
yeah.
like, should we ask them to write to us, email us? Maybe
Yes, yes,
we can
give.
give them the information. Okay, sure.
Yes, we can. Some people are there, they courier the boxes also to your doorstep. So, but not the colonies, right? Now, colonies you have to find on your own. Now, what you can do is you can keep some clay pots, if, as I explained earlier, you can make some traps, right? Then we can easily, now next in coming webinar, we will tell you how to transfer these colonies from clay pots to a hive. Rather than purchasing colonies, you can do that. And there are some people who are selling colonies also. Now if there are some requests, so we can provide the contacts these guys also, right? So we can ask them to keep contact you, right?
Yes, Dr. Anurag. So you can directly write to, I think most of you have my email address, dakshini@dilmahconservation.org. So write to us, we will share the contact details, which we will get, which we are getting from Dr. Anurag. So Dr. Anurag, we have another question from Taranga. He's asking, do we need to cover the bee hive during rainy season? And also, is it better to keep the beehive under the shady tree?
Yes, yes. Now, normally there is a roof in a hive, so therefore you don't want to have some additional roof. But if you are in an area with heavy rain, yeah, you can support the hive by keeping some brick tiles on top of that. Likewise, right? Or otherwise, if it is a general, I mean, if it's small rain, right? So the hive can withstand on its own, because the tar sheet and the roof are designed in a way that the rainwater will prevent entering into the hive, right? So yes, but in the other questions, whether the keep needs to, I mean, the hive need to keep in shade condition. Yes, yeah, you should not keep the hive in under direct sun, because you know where the bees naturally make their nest, so they like some cool and humid places, right, in dark condition, right? Therefore you have to give some similar condition, right? At least you have to keep it under a kind of tree there, so that you can use some shade, right? Yeah, it is better always, but remember that it should not be any branches or anything touch the hive, right? Because some intruders, the ants like things will come and attack the colony then, right?
Dr. Anura, Melinda wants to know, does the swarming colony live with a new queen or the old queen?
That's a good question. Yes, yes. Normally, the swarming colony live with the old queen, right? Actually, now why they make a new queen in a colony is actually they are not satisfied about the existing queen sometime, right? Because when the number of bees are increasing in a colony, they may not get the queen pheromone adequately, right? Therefore they think, okay, sometimes they may feel like they don't have a queen, therefore they ask to develop to make a new queen. So therefore all the time the old queen will leave the colony before the new queen is emerged, right? They don't wait until the new queen is come. But the problem is now, when they are making queens, new queens, not only one, several new queens will come, right? Now time to time, several queens will come. So if the colony is very big, right? So several swarming colonies can create up to 7 to 8, right? For maximum 8 times they can swarm, depending on the size of the colony. Yeah, most of the time the old queen is the one who leave the colony
Dr.
with
Anura,
a set of
sorry.
bees. Yeah, 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 yeah.
Dr. Anura, Shavindu wants to know that is there any way to keep a beehive in an area where municipal fogging for mosquitoes happens continuously time to time?
No, I didn't get Dakshini. Can you repeat it?
So if a person is living in an area where there is municipal fogging for mosquitoes happens
Yes, yes,
continuously,
yes,
so can that
yes, yes.
person have a beehive in his garden?
Oh yes, I saw that sort of incidents even the Facebook, right? Some areas they treat for the mosquitoes, right? So not DDT, but some pyrethroids may be sprayed very frequently. Now, actually, I think it is not fair to keep honeybees in an area like that. Maybe you will feel honeybees are thrive well, but actually they apply insecticide, right? So this insecticide can affect bees definitely, right? Therefore, yeah, there may be some tricks that you can cover the colonies when they are spraying insecticide and all, but still I don't like if you keep colonies in an areas like that. So we have to avoid even in cultivated areas we ask farmers to not to apply any chemicals if we have bee colonies, right? So because bees are very sensitive for the pesticide, especially pyrethroid and neonicotinoids type pesticide. Now when they expose to insecticide, right, these foraging bees, they cannot find their way back to their home, right? So now normally they will come back to their nest after foraging, but if they contaminate with pesticide, they cannot find their way. Now lots of bees may be collapse, right? So I don't recommend actually to keep bees in an areas like that.
So I think we can answer a couple, maybe two more questions. So one is Dr. Anura, Tilina wants to know like whether the bees are attracted to light bulbs, because he's asking if they are attracted to light bulbs in a very limited area, so then there will be a problem for the house owners. So what could we say?
Yes, yes, there's a point there. Yeah, even I have that problem sometimes. Yes, they attract to light, right? Now, even those are the bumblebees also attract to light. Now, during that night time, they can attract your, I mean, if your home garden or the neighbor's one, so they will attract and actually they will die then. They cannot go back to their nest also. One way bees will be destroyed, and then the neighbors may also will worry about that, right? So what we can do is we can switch off your lights maybe around 7 to 7:30, like, right, 6:30 to 7:30, like not all the lights, I mean especially the lights outside your house, right? Because they are working until the last until the sunset is occur, right? So then when the lights are there, so then they will attract to the light rather than they go into the nest, right? So there is a problem, and we are not recommending to establish apiaries in an areas where you use high voltage bulbs, right? In some places we use flashlight like things. Now those areas actually not suitable for to establish large apiaries, right? Maybe one or two colony you can keep. Yes, that problem is there. Good question.
Dr. Anura, maybe we can give quick answers for couple of questions. And one is, if we have a colony which we don't want to keep anymore, can we release them to the wild, and will they survive?
Of course, nothing will happen, right? It's not like that you keep some other pets in your home, and if you leave them, they cannot survive on their own. They will die maybe by a road accident or something like that. But honeybees, they can survive anywhere, right? I mean, if you just keep the gate open, right? You don't want to remove them by heart. You just keep the gate open. Then when time comes, they will leave, right? They will leave and they will find some new places to stay. Nothing will happen.
Um, Mohammed wants to know, is a bee colony in a branch of a tree is suitable for beekeeping, or only bee variety in dark enclosed places will be suitable?
No. As I told you earlier, now if you see some bees in a branch, now it should be honeybees, right? So there are some other bees also in a branch, what we call episploria. In Jaffna Peninsula, you may have seen episploria. That is different species, right? So you cannot keep this episploria in a hive at all. But if you see, if you see some honeybees in a branch, like I told you at the beginning today webinar, right? If it is a migrating one, yes, definitely you can keep them in beehive without a problem. Literally, it is the easiest way to capture a colony, right? Rather than harvesting, or rather than capturing a wild colony in a termite mold or inside a wooden log, right? A tree or den or somewhere. The easiest way is to capture the swarming colony, right? As you said, nothing will happen. All are alike, right?
Dr. Anura, like, wants to know how many hives should we start with?
Yeah, to start with, now if you are beginner, it is better if you have only one colony at the beginning, right? Then you can learn different. I mean, to be a good beekeeper, you have to familiar with the behavior of the bees, right? Behavior of the bees by doing things on your own. I mean, if you are afraid to handle bees, right? You cannot do a beekeeping, right? So if you have one or two colonies, then you can easily learn these things, right? Maybe 2 or 3 after 1 or 2 or 3 season, you can multiply your colony. And if you have one colony, by the time you can divide the colony also, then it may be your 2 colony or 3 colony, then next season it may be 4 or 5. Likewise, you can increase the colony if you have start with the one, right? Provided that you manage the colony satisfactorily, right? There are some things that you have to learn while you are managing colony. Or if you just brought a colony and keep it there without checking, yeah, they may be leave after some time, right? It is unavoidable, right? So so if you are beginner, yeah, you can start with the one colony at the beginning to start with. Yes.
So Dr. Anura, we received a couple of questions. I think Dilmah conservation team will be able to get back to them via email to answer these questions. For the moment, I think we are running out of time. So then we are about
And
to close
yeah,
our session.
Dakshini, I can see one question from Vihansi, not a question actually. She says, I regularly see Apis florea here in Trincomalee. Yeah, in Trincomalee and this Jaffna Peninsula, Apis florea is very common, not the Apis cerana. Yes, it is a natural condition actually, but you cannot keep them in a hive. Yeah. Yes, Dakshini. So we are going to wind up, right?
Yes, Dr. Anura, thank you so much for your time and sharing knowledge with us. And we look forward to see you in our next webinar. On behalf of Dilmah Tea and Dilmah Conservation, thank you once again. And for those who are joining us as participants, this is our tentative schedule. So this might change at one point, but we will try our best to stick into this calendar so that you will be able to join us and also get the e-certificate that most of you are interested in. And don't forget to complete the feedback form that you are getting tomorrow. That will be the that will work as the eligibility for the to receive the final certificate from us. And if you are using Facebook, please send us a direct message so that we can send you the feedback link. And then this will be the last time that we will share the feedback form with you through Facebook. And we would like to request all of you to join us through Zoom. In that way, it will be easy for us to issue the e-certificate. And thank you so much, everyone, for joining with us. We look forward to see you in July to continue our second session, how to start beekeeping, and tell you guys about the tools and equipments in detail. So thank you so much. Don't forget to complete the feedback form you are receiving tomorrow. See you again. Have a good evening.
Thank you.